When Ava came back from her weekend field trip with her class, she eagerly rummaged through her backpack and pulled out a crumpled drawing, her eyes shining with pride. "Mom, look, I drew Miss Clarice. She's so pretty, wearing a floral dress, her hair long like a princess. She went to the park with Dad the other day." Sienna smiled out of habit, as any mother would cherish her child's every stroke of the pen. She bent down and took the drawing from Ava's hands. It was a simple park scene, but at the center were two adults. A young woman with long chestnut hair wearing a light purple floral dress, and a man wearing a gray hat and half-framed sunglasses, their hands tightly clasped together. Sienna's eyes caught the familiar brown watch on the man's wrist. Her heart jolted as if someone had silently sliced through it with a razor-sharp blade. In that moment, the whole room seemed to drain of sound. Ava kept chattering, but her voice now echoed behind a thick glass wall. Sienna heard her own breath slow, as if someone was pushing her down into icy water, and that drawing was the heavy stone tied to her ankle, pulling her to the depths. Her gaze fixed on the child's unsteady lines, but her mind spun with hundreds of questions. Why did Marcus bring their daughter to the park with another woman? Why didn't he tell her? And why, of all places on earth, did they let Ava witness it? She forced a brittle smile, hiding the screaming torment inside. "She's really beautiful. You did a great job, sweetie," she whispered, her voice sounding like someone else's. Ava hugged her mom happily. "Dad told me not to tell, but I want you to know, because you're the one I love the most." Those words struck like a knife, not because of her husband's betrayal, but because of the innocence of a child who had unknowingly become an innocent witness to an adult's crime. Sienna held the drawing long after Ava left the room. She looked at it like one looks at a portrait. Undeniable proof that from this moment on, her life would never be the same. That night, Marcus was taking a shower. The house was filled with the steady sound of water, a quiet excuse covering everything he was hiding. Sienna entered the study. Everything was in place. Neat, orderly, almost unnervingly so. She bent down, opening each drawer as if rifling through the memories of a man she once thought she knew well. The third drawer stuck. She had to pull hard. When it finally popped open, a plain white envelope slipped out. No name, no address, but heavy, as if holding the whole truth. She held it in her cold hands. Inside was a color photo. A woman wearing a floral dress, her long hair cascading over one shoulder. A half-defiant, half-seductive smile. Marcus stood beside her, his hand resting on her hip. His eyes looked at her as if she was the only world he wanted to live in. Sienna stood frozen. No shouting, no dropping the photo, no tears. She just stared, until the photo seemed to drain the breath from her lungs. Her mind didn't explode. It froze. Cold. Empty. As if the betrayal had been lodged deep in her heart for a long time, only now coming into sharp focus. The water stopped. Marcus stepped out, towel wrapped around his waist, smiling casually. "What are you looking for?" he asked softly. Sienna turned, her eyes like a frozen lake. "Nothing. Just cleaning up a bit." Marcus didn't notice anything unusual. He didn't realize the storm was coming. Not with thunder, but with utter silence. When Marcus retreated to the bedroom to change, Sienna gently placed the photo back into the envelope and slid it into the bottom drawer. The very place where she had found it. Not to hide it, but to keep it as living proof. One day when he asks why, she will simply pull out that drawer and say, "Because you made me love someone who no longer exists." Marcus fell asleep quickly after going to bed. His breathing was steady, his back turned to her, as if the day had left no trace. Sienna lay awake beside him, eyes wide open in the dark. The silence was so deep she could hear her own heartbeat. Quiet but chaotic, as if someone was pounding on her chest from within. She turned slowly, afraid to wake the monster. Her hand reached for Marcus's phone. Still plugged in on the bedside table, a silent challenge. The password hadn't changed, her birthday. Still him. The same man who had held her hand on their wedding day, who had cried when their daughter was born. She opened the photo app. Her eyes didn't blink. A hidden album. A neat collection of photos appeared. Too neat, almost creepy. Marcus and that woman, Clarice, in a cafe, in a car, in a warmly lit hotel room. They didn't do anything crude, just hugs, smiles, and looks. But those were the cruelest things of all. Sienna viewed each photo as if she were cutting herself with shards of glass, sharp, clear, and invisible wounds. Then a video. She pressed play. Clarice sat on the bed, wrapped in a towel, her hair wet. "Marcus," she said, voice as sweet as honey, "I hate it when you have to go home. Why don't we just live truthfully with each other?" Then Marcus, the man who once vowed never to hurt Sienna, leaned down and kissed her shoulder. "Just not the right time yet, you know that." Sienna didn't cry, didn't scream, but inside her head, a sound cracked. That sound didn't come from the device, but from deep within her heart, where her trust used to live. She put the phone down, feeling empty as if the room had no furniture left. A voice whispered inside her, "Don't rush, maybe it's just temporary. He's still Ava's dad." But another voice screamed, "Being a father doesn't give you the right to betray. Being a father doesn't mean living a double life." She sat up, looking at Marcus. The man sleeping peacefully, as if the world were still intact. In the darkness, she saw him as a stranger. A man who used her trust to hide a fire that had burned long ago. Sienna didn't sleep. That night, she wrote in her journal, "I used to think the worst thing was being lied to. But the worst thing is when you start lying to yourself to keep a piece of fake happiness. And tonight, I know. I'm not naive enough to keep going like that." When Marcus left the house, Sienna quietly closed the door behind him, preserving the silence to hear the truth. She poured herself a cup of strong, bitter black coffee and opened her laptop, logging into their joint bank account. The statement appeared within seconds. Sienna scrolled slowly, as if her hand didn't want to move ahead of her racing heart. Everything seemed normal. Supermarket bills, Ava's tuition, insurance fees, gas expenses. But then, in the recurring transactions section, her eyes froze. CL Design Project, $3,200 month, transferred on the 3rd every month. Note, marketing fee. She clicked on the transaction history. It started 8 months ago, exactly on the same day each month. The amount was always the same. That abbreviation sent chills down her spine. CL, Clarice Lavoie, the design alias of that woman. She opened another tab, searching Marcus's saved email files. He had asked her to proofread contracts with interior design clients. A PDF popped up, showing the logo, CL Design. Not a company. Not a project. A personal account, cleverly disguised under a professional facade. Sienna leaned back in her chair, closing her eyes. The ticking of the wall clock sounded like a slow drum on her chest. Quiet but relentless, just like Marcus's steady nurturing of his affair without her ever knowing. $3,200 a month, she did the math. Equal to a semester's tuition for Ava. Equal to a savings account they never started. And she recalled the times Marcus declined trips, saying, "We need to save for the future." Turns out, the future he thought of was with someone else. That Saturday evening, Ava went to bed early after a day out with her classmates. Sienna was busy folding clothes, checking Ava's planner, lighting a scented candle in the living room. Marcus entered the study, needing to grab his passport and some documents for an early work trip the next week. He opened the built-in safe, punched the code, turned the handle. Nothing. He tried again. The code was correct, their wedding anniversary date, but the safe wouldn't budge. The handle was stiff, locked tight. A new lock, unlike the old mechanical one. A digital keypad, advanced, unfamiliar. A chill ran down his spine. He walked out and saw Sienna watering plants in the kitchen, her hands moving smoothly as if nothing were wrong. "You changed the safe lock?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his tone casual. Sienna didn't turn around, answering softly, "Yes. The old one was faulty. I thought it needed better security." better security? Just in case someone tries to open it without permission. The words floated by like a breeze, but cut Marcus like a blade through thin paper. He stepped closer, still keeping his distance. Why didn't you tell me? This time, Sienna looked straight at him. Her eyes were not angry, but filled with meaning. Because you never asked, and not everyone deserves to know what's going on in this house. Marcus stepped back half a step. He looked at the woman before him, once his rock, now no longer soft or trembling. Sienna stood firm, like a fortress no explanation of his could breach. He tried a weak smile, trying to smooth things over. Maybe I need to update the code. No need, Sienna cut him off. What's inside is no longer your concern. Marcus said nothing. The kitchen fell silent. Only the drip of the faucet and the ticking clock, reminding him his time in this house was running out. Sienna turned and continued watering plants, her back straight, footsteps light. No yelling, no accusations. Just a small act, changing the lock, that shifted the entire power balance in their marriage. 2 weeks later, at the city park under the soft afternoon sun, Ava ran around on the grass holding a balloon, her laughter ringing like clear wind chimes. Marcus sat on a bench watching her, but his mind elsewhere. Clarice was coming. She arrived 5 minutes late, wearing a white linen dress, large sunglasses and flats. The same blend of casual ease and calculated intent. So adorable, Clarice said as she spotted Ava. Marcus nodded, hesitating. Just for a bit. Sienna doesn't know. And she won't if you keep it that way. Clarice smiled. She knelt down to Ava's level. Hi, sweetie. I'm a friend of Daddy Marcus. You can call me C, okay? Ava frowned, hesitant, but when Marcus nodded, she whispered, Okay, C. Clarice held out a sparkling, crown-shaped hair clip. Your mom probably doesn't let you wear too much jewelry, right? Ava shook her head. She says not too much so my hair doesn't get tangled. Clarice smiled softly. Your mom's pretty strict. Seemingly harmless words, but they marked the first scratch on the child's memories, where trust in her mother was shaped by the smallest things. Clarice took Ava's hand and walked her around the pond, Marcus following behind. Is your dad busy a lot? She asked. He goes to work a lot, but when Mom's away, Dad buys me ice cream. Oh, so Mom doesn't know? Ava nodded innocently. Clarice smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. Marcus sat back down, eyes glued to his phone. Clarice seized the moment, sitting next to Ava and pulling out a small photo of herself with Marcus. See who's here? Daddy, Bright, and me. We're special friends. Ava frowned, silent for a moment. Clarice folded the photo and slipped it into Ava's pocket. Don't tell Mom, okay? This is our secret. That night, Ava came home, still wearing the hair clip. Sienna had just returned from the airport. Exhausted, but still sat down beside her. Mom, look what I got! Ava exclaimed, pulling out the photo from her pocket. Sienna looked, her heart tightening. Marcus and Clarice, close, as if they were the parents of another child. Mom, her name's C. She's Dad's friend, but she told me not to tell you. Ava's voice trailed off. Sienna looked up, no yelling, no tears. Only one question echoed in her mind. What else are they trying to steal? My husband, or even my daughter? The next day, Sienna left a small gift box at Clarice's design studio door, no name on it. Inside was the sparkling crown hair clip Ava wore during their secret meeting, along with a handwritten note. Children shouldn't carry the secrets of adults. Next time, I won't give it back. 2 weeks later, Marcus stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his shirt collar. The scent of woodsy cologne, just enough to avoid suspicion. I'm flying out early tonight. Meeting with partners in Denver tomorrow morning, he said, looking at Sienna through the mirror. Sienna, folding Ava's clothes, didn't turn around. Busy schedule? She asked evenly. Yeah, probably won't call much until I'm back in 3 days, he said, packing his laptop and papers into his suitcase. She replied simply, Don't forget your black suit. You only look decent when you have to be serious. Marcus hesitated, then laughed it off. You're teasing. 2 hours later, he didn't board any flight. He drove straight to a boutique hotel tucked away on a hillside by the lake. The same place he and Sienna had spent their honeymoon 5 years ago. Clarice was waiting in room 203. The room was nearly unchanged since Marcus last booked it with Sienna. A large bed with white linens, a teardrop-shaped nightlamp, and glass doors overlooking the lake at sunset. Clarice opened the door with a crooked smile, satin dress sliding off her shoulder. "Long time no see, huh?" she said, pulling Marcus inside like she owned the place. Marcus smiled, kissed her neck, fingers threading through her hair as if the rest of the world had vanished. "Our first night here together," Clarice whispered. "No," Marcus corrected. "My first night here was with someone else." Clarice smirked, not asking further, because she knew, and she didn't care. On a small table near the bed was a bottle of red wine and 2 crystal glasses. Next to them, an old Polaroid photo face down. Clarice flipped it over. A picture of Marcus and Sienna taken on a balcony exactly 5 years ago. Clarice sneered. "Forgot to delete this, huh?" Marcus snatched it and threw it in the trash. "She doesn't matter anymore. Trust me." But when Clarice went to the bathroom, Marcus sat on the bed, instinctively pulling out his phone, which lit up with a message from Sienna. "Safe trip? Denver's cold. Don't forget your jacket." No emojis, no questions, just one sentence, enough to dry his throat. What Marcus didn't know was, Sienna wasn't just home. She sat at a cafe less than 3 miles from the hotel. In front of her was an open laptop with a booking page ready, and a secondary account under the name Clarice Lavoie, just charged using a credit card Marcus had left in the car. Sienna sipped her coffee. Her eyes no longer hurt, only a slow-burning fire, of a woman who had learned to be silent, not to endure, but to bend the whole game that others thought they controlled. The phone sat on the table. The screen displayed the interface of a tracking app that Sienna had secretly installed on Marcus's phone 3 weeks earlier after transactions sending money to Clarice's account. A small red dot blinked. Mercer Lake Hotel, room 203. Too familiar. She poured herself a glass of wine, her hand steady now. A day earlier, Sienna had sent a small gift box containing a crown-shaped hair clip, identical to the one Clarice had placed in Ava's hair during their secret meeting in the park, along with an anonymous email from a newly created account to the PR department of the design company where Clarice worked. Attached to the email was a video, Clarice and Marcus entering the hotel, holding hands, laughing playfully in the elevator. The hallway camera had recorded everything. The caption beneath the video simply read, "Is this the CL design you are promoting as the model of the modern woman?" She also sent printed photos of Marcus and Clarice together with Ava at the park, accompanied by childish handwriting, Dad and C holding hands. The package was sent to a reporter in charge of the family and social media section of a major online magazine. At the same time, Marcus received a brief message from Sienna. "Don't come home early. Someone else is taking care of the house now." He frantically called back. No one answered. Only 2 words echoed in his mind: exposed. Clarice sat on the hotel bed, her face pale as her phone exploded with a flood of emails from the company, the press, and another anonymous account sending only one line: "When you try to steal what's not yours, make sure there are no cameras in the hallway." That afternoon, Clarice entered the conference room, where the entire PR team and investors were waiting. On the projector screen was the video from the Mercer Lake Hotel hallway. When she turned to her assistant, ready to speak, a small gift box was pushed in front of her. She opened it. Inside was the crown hair clip she had given Ava, and a white card. The delicate italic script read, "I don't need to keep a husband. I keep what's right. You should learn to redesign yourself before calling yourself a modern woman." Clarice looked up, the conference room lights reflected in her shattered eyes. At that moment she realized she wasn't defeated by words. She was defeated by time, observation, and a wife she once thought was weak. Marcus returned home at 10 p.m. The living room lights were on. The house was quiet but no longer peaceful. He placed his hand on the doorknob, hesitating, as if stepping inside would mean the past could never be undone. Sienna sat on the sofa. The warm yellow light cast shadows on her cheekbones and over the thin stack of documents before her. "I know," she said. "No need for him to confess." Marcus sat across from her, eyes searching but finding no anchor. "I'm sorry. I didn't think things would go this far." "Didn't think?" Sienna lifted her head. "What were you thinking when you took our daughter to meet your mistress? When you stepped into the very room that was our honeymoon suite? When you transferred money monthly to someone trying to replace me as Ava's mother?" Her voice was calm, not trembling, cold enough to freeze the entire room. Marcus bowed his head. For the first time in his life, he felt utterly defenseless. "I've lost you, haven't I?" Sienna didn't reply. She pushed the file towards him. "The divorce papers. The lawyer has drafted them. I just need your signature." He took the papers, hands shaking, his throat dry. "Can't you forgive me?" "Forgive?" She smiled softly, eyes piercing his. "I've already forgiven myself for trusting you. That's enough." Marcus signed. His strokes were shaky, like a drowning man. When he put down the pen, it felt like he had signed his own death warrant. For the pride that once thought it could walk two paths without punishment. He tried to stand but was stopped by a sharp glance. "You have 5 minutes to leave this house. I don't want Ava to see you packing in tears." "What will you tell her?" "That her dad isn't brave enough to love just one woman." Marcus left, no suitcase, taking nothing. Only the door closing behind him, not abruptly, not angrily, but heavy like the verdict of an unappealable sentence. Inside, Sienna folded the papers. She went up to Ava's room, bent down and kissed the forehead of her peacefully sleeping daughter. "From now on, you'll never have to draw another woman standing next to your dad again." She turned off the light, left, closing the door with the strongest hand she'd ever had in her life. 3 months after Marcus left, autumn painted the street gold. Sienna stood on the balcony of her new apartment, holding a cup of hot tea, eyes following the early sunlight filtering through the trees. The apartment wasn't large but had everything she needed: a personal bookshelf, a workspace facing the window, and a small room for Ava, decorated with lavender wallpaper that the girl loved. Ava was drawing. On the white paper, this time there were only 2 figures, mother and daughter, holding hands as they walked through a field of flowers. No sea, no man standing between them. Sienna saw herself in the drawing, her smile brighter than any photo Marcus had ever taken. She no longer checked her phone every morning. No longer wondered, where is he? With whom? Will he come back? She woke, opened the curtains, took a deep breath, because she no longer needed anyone to come back to complete her. Her freelance work was thriving. She advised female entrepreneurs on branding and shared her financial experiences post-divorce on a small blog called Rising from Silence. Her first article was titled, "Betrayal Doesn't Break You, Avoiding It Does." One late afternoon, Sienna bumped into an old friend, Julian, a former coworker before she quit because of Marcus. They went out for coffee, talked for hours. Julian asked, "Do you still believe in love?" She smiled, sipped her coffee, and replied, "I believe in myself. As for love, if it's good enough, it will come. If not, I'm fine." That night, Sienna lay in bed, moonlight streaming through the curtains, casting light on her hair. No more secret videos to watch. No more passwords to decode. Only a deep sleep, and a tomorrow where she didn't need anyone else to feel worthy. The drawing Ava had made was now framed and hung in the living room, a reminder that some cracks don't need hiding, because through those cracks, light can shine.